Knights of the Old Republic. They're the three musketeers, if you will, of the galaxy. They have been sent in to help negotiate Hi. Welcome back to the best ever episode of Professor McBrick. It's the best ever episode because today we're talking about bum. I'm old school OG Star Wars fan. I grew up watching Star Wars. A New Hope came out in 1977. I was getting the Scholastic book orders. 1980, I used to go to my friend's house and spend the night. Guess what the only tape they had was? That's right, Star Wars, A New Hope. I remember seeing The Empire Strikes Back in the theaters, original run. I'm gonna be a grumpy old man about this. I remember seeing Return of the Jedi when it came out in the theaters in 1982. I remember these things when they were new. So the best way to talk about Legos and Star Wars at the same time, I think, is to go through the Lego Star Wars sets that I have. But I want to give a couple of disclaimers first. Number one, I've never entered anything into Wikipedia. Number two, I've never trolled a Star Wars actor. I am, however, pretty passionate about Star Wars because I'm passionate about stories. I love stories, and Star Wars was a foundational story for my life. It helped shape my sense of justice and right and wrong and good and bad. And so what better way to share my love of Star Wars with you than to tell you the story of Star Wars through Lego? If I'm going to tell you the story of Star Wars, I have to pick a starting point. I've chosen to start with Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, and right there, I've probably lost half of you. I'm so sorry to the purists out there. Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Our story begins, as all good stories do, with a trade embargo. The evil Trade Federation has encircled and ensnared the planet Naboo. Queen Amidala, Padme Amidala, young queen of Naboo, asks for help from the Republic because her planet is under siege. So the Republic sends in the Jedi, two Jedi specifically, young apprentice Obi-Wan Kenobi and Jedi Master Qui-Gon Jinn. These are essentially the Three Musketeers, right? They are the Knights of the Old Republic. And so the Jedi go in and they go down and they pick up Amidala and they're going to bring her back to the Senate to ask for help, to make a plea. Please, can you guys get involved in this thing that's happening to our planet? But on their way there, their hyperdrive breaks down, which seems to happen a lot in Star Wars. So they have to do an emergency landing on the desert planet of Tatooine. While they are on Tatooine, Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan and Queen Amidala's maidservant who's with them, they meet a young enslaved boy named Anakin Skywalker. He is a slave, he is 6 years old, and he is powerful in the ways of the Force. Kid's got mad skills is essentially what they say, but it's all latent, it's buried, he has no training. So they make some deals and some bets and yada 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 yada. They end up freeing Anakin, but his mom has to stay behind. That's an important plot point we will come back to. Well, meanwhile, they're being chased down by this guy. You can see him here. This is Darth Maul. And Darth Maul is a Sith. Now, the Sith are like the opposite of the Jedi. If the Jedi have this magical power, the Force, that they can use, we learn in Episode 1 it's not magic, it's just simply biology. They have more midichlorians, which are some sort of microcellular organism inside of them. I don't know. Never really gets explained. If the Jedi have Force powers and they use them for good, the Sith have Force powers, but they use them for evil. And there are only ever two Sith at a time. There's an apprentice Sith, Darth Maul, and then there's a master Sith. Now, we don't know who that is. It's hidden, shrouded in mystery. Anyways, Darth Maul arrives on Tatooine just as they're getting ready to leave with their repaired hyperdrive. And he arrives in this ship right here, the Sith Infiltrator. And it's super cool, right? Pew, 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 pew. And it flies around. And anyways, Darth Maul gets into a lightsaber battle with Qui-Gon Jinn on the surface, and they barely escape. Right, so there's Darth Maul. So instead of going to the Senate, they race back to Naboo. And at this point in time, the Trade Federation has not only encircled the planet, but they have actually begun to send troops down to the surface. And those troops are droid troops, right? So here we go. This is a battle droid. So the people, the Jedi on the surface, and the people of Naboo, and the inhabitants of Naboo, because they're not all people, there's also Gungans, right? This is Jar Jar Binks. He's a Gungan who lives on Naboo. The Jedi decide they need the help of the Gungans. They need all of the inhabitants of Naboo to help fight against the Trade Federation. So the Jedi, Qui-Gon Jinn, and Obi-Wan, they load up with Jar Jar in this underwater Gungan sub, glub, 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 and they go down through underwater to the undersea Gungan, I almost said Gundam, that's a different story entirely, the undersea kingdom, and they convince the Gungans to help, and they do. And a great big battle ensues up on the surface. And of course, who is the Wunderkind who comes in to save the day? That's right, it's young Anakin Skywalker. And lo and behold, we discover that the Queen's maidservant who was with them all along and has befriended young Skywalker was actually the Queen herself the whole time. Man, I didn't see that coming at all. So, they defeat the Trade Empire. Everybody's happy. Big celebration on the streets of Naboo. And everybody's saying, wow, Anakin, you're really something special. You know who's really saying that? Is the senator from Naboo who's come back to check on everybody. And his name is Sheev Palpatine. And he says, kid, I'm watching you. 10 years later, Anakin Skywalker, now 16, growing up in the ways of the Force, is being trained by Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's also secretly dating Padme Amidala, who, as you recall, is the Queen of Naboo, who befriended this young 6-year-old, but now doesn't think it's weird to date him. They've fallen in love and they marry in secret because Jedi and Jedi in training are not supposed to be encumbered by relationships like that. Meanwhile, Obi-Wan Kenobi goes off on a secret mission and he discovers that there is a clone army that is being created. And these clones are going to be used as an army for the Republic. And the Republic is fighting against the Separatists. That's right, there's a civil war at this point in time in the Republic. And so the Separatists are trying to leave the Republic, and the Jedi and the clones are fighting to keep them in. It's a big to-do, and everybody's unhappy. Speaking of unhappy, at this point in time, Anakin, who is now, a young man of 16, goes back to Tatooine to rescue his mother, who is still in slavery there. But when he gets there, he finds her on the brink of death because the Sand People have kidnapped her. And he's upset about that, and he hates sand, and so he kills them all. He slaughters them, and his mom dies. And that, wreaks havoc on his psyche, and Freud would have a heyday, and it all comes to a head in Episode 3. Episode 3, where the Bantha fodder hits the fan. Our story opens in Episode 3 with this great big battle over the planet of Coruscant, and it is the Separatists versus the Republic. So Anakin Skywalker, who's this amazing pilot, is flying along here, and he's shooting at the vulture droid. Pew, 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 pew. And they, being the Jedi and the Republic, sort of end up winning that battle. And there were a bunch of other battles. We have, this fighter here. This is another cool one. I like this one. Right? And so they would fight in that thing. And then we have this really cool kind of prototype X-Wing, and this one's mechanized even, so you can open the wings up there. But what's interesting about this ship in terms of the storyline, just as a ship, it's just super cool, right? But in terms of the storyline is, one, you can see how this looks like. We're getting hints of what the future ships from episodes 4, 5, and 6 are going to look like. But even more interesting, the pilot of this ship is this guy. He's a Jedi, right? And his co-pilots are clones, all right? So these are clone troopers. Remember, in Episode 2, Obi-Wan discovered that there was a clone army being built, and they were going to fight alongside the Jedi on behalf of the Republic. That's an important plot point. Okay, so we have this battle going on, Separatists, Republic, and all this money and war machinery has gone into creating this army for the Republic. And the guy who's leading this whole charge is Senator Sheev Palpatine. He ends up sort of being elected, if you can elect, emperor, and being granted basically wartime powers that of course he's going to give back once the war is over, or so goes the plan. So we have Jedi and clones fighting alongside each other for the same cause. Well, meanwhile, Anakin Skywalker is still in love with Padme, still married to her in secret, and she is expecting twins. Well, obviously he's very excited about this, but if you recall, he lost his mom. His mom died, and he begins worrying that he's going to lose her too. He begins confessing his fears to not his Jedi mentor, but his sort of other mentor, Senator Sheev Palpatine. And Senator Palpatine says, you know, there is actually a way. The Sith long ago learned to control the powers of death and life, and if you learn the ways of the Sith, you might actually be able to save your wife. You could save Padme. She won't die, because he's had these visions that she's going to die, just like his mom. Well, of course, Anakin at that point in time realizes that the Senator is, of course, the secret Sith. The Senator is the secret Sith. That's kind of fun to say. So he's kind of freaked out by that. But meanwhile, the Jedi have said, you know what, Anakin, you're really, really, really good, but your attitude kind of stinks, so we're not going to fully let you in. So he's disaffected with the Jedi, right? And he's afraid he's going to lose his wife like he lost his mom. And he's this other guy kind of whispering in his ear. And next thing you know, he is turned to the dark side of the Force. He gives himself up over to the Sith. Senator Palpatine, whom we now know as Emperor Palpatine, issues Directive 66, which was a secret order that was built into the clones' minds. And when he issues that, they turn and they start killing the Jedi. And lo and behold, the Emperor all of a sudden has this massive military that he's built up because of the threat of the Separatists, a war that it turns out he manufactured. And then he has his clones turn on the Jedi, and he starts the narrative of the Jedi being the enemy, and the Jedi are driven out, and they're exterminated. And the very, very few that are alive are in hiding. Well, Obi-Wan Kenobi is one of those who is alive, and he has a final confrontation / boss battle with his former protege, Anakin Skywalker. And he says, Anakin, I loved you. You were my brother. And Anakin says, I hate you. And it's all very dramatic. Obi-Wan mortally wounds Anakin, and Anakin ends up with most of his body getting burned off by the lava. And Obi-Wan could have taken the final shot right there, or, stabbed with a lightsaber and killed him, but he didn't. He left him alive, thinking he would die, but he couldn't bring himself to kill him. But he didn't die. He was rescued. He was rescued by Emperor Palpatine in the Emperor's shuttle. That's this right here. Okay, so the Emperor Palpatine comes along and he sees, the torso of poor, badly burned Anakin Skywalker laying there on the planet. Anakin, when he's all burned, he looks something like this. And he picks him up in his ship. This is, by the way, that's Senator Palpatine, sort of a Voldemort-looking dude. And he picks him up in his ship with his medical droid, and he patches him up, and all the parts that are burned off he replaces with bionic limbs, and his lungs have been seared, so he gives him a breathing apparatus, and he gives him a helmet, and you might recognize him. That's right. His transformation is complete. Anakin Skywalker becomes Darth Vader. If I'm blowing your mind right now, yeah, these movies are really old, so you should have known this already. So, we will continue this in our next video as I tell you more about episodes 4, 5, and 6. But if you have things that you want me to cover in the story of Star Wars through Lego, please let me know. Use the comment section below to tell me what that is. As always, please like, please subscribe, and may the Force be with you.